Hello, everyone. Welcome to Effective Organization of Google Drive and Google Classroom. My name is Nina Sclafani. You have probably received quite a few emails from me at this point. I am the Senior Events Coordinator of Tech. If you have any questions about the events that we have, please don't hesitate to email events@tech.com. I'm gonna start this in about 2 minutes. We'll get started while you all are filtering in, but I'm loving this. I see we have 63 people, 65. Ooh, I love watching these numbers hop up. If you just hopped in, welcome to Effective Organization of Google Drive and Google Classroom. We're gonna get started in about 2 minutes. I wanna make sure we have as many people as possible here. And welcome to the first session of the Tech Virtual Summit number 2. We did one of these about 2 weeks ago, or maybe 3 weeks ago now, and it was just such a nice experience. We just had to bring it back to you guys, especially as we're all gearing up for the start of the school year. All right, 75 people here. Everyone, thank you so much for making it. We're going to get started in about a minute, but if you are just joining us, welcome to Effective Organization of Google Drive and Google Classroom. Okay. Like I said, thank you all so much for joining us today. Especially, it's a little early. I know we might all still be a little bit in the quarantine, making our own wake-up schedule. Okay, and now let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session. My name is Nina Sclafani. I'm the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech. Welcome to the second Tech Virtual Summit. We did this about 3 weeks ago. It was an excellent experience for all of us, and something that's very needed as we are gearing up to start the beginning of the school year. You're joining us now for Effective Organization of Google Drive and Google Classroom. During the session, you'll notice that your camera and your audio does not work because we have so many people here today. So if you would like to ask Nicole a question throughout the session, if you scroll to the bottom of your Zoom screen, you will see there is a Q&A box and there's also a chat box. In the chat, feel free to keep the conversation going. We would love to know where you're from, what you teach, and then you'll also see there's a Q&A box. If you have any questions that you want to ask Nicole, this is where you do it. Joseph is going to be monitoring that Q&A box and helping answer any of those questions, but also we're going to save about 10 minutes for the end to address any larger scale questions. With that, I would like to pass this over to Nicole. She's got a great presentation plan for you all. And if you like what you see today, make sure to sign up for any of the other sessions that we have. We have 19 sessions in total scheduled for the next 4 days. So make sure to check out the schedule, register for those. If you have any questions, reach out to me at events@tech.com. And with that, Nicole, go for it.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Mathew. I'm one of our curriculum specialists here at Tech. My background is in biology, specifically middle school science. I spent 4 years in the classroom and now I'm here at Tech producing great presentations for you all to help you as you're in the classroom now. And today you're joining us for Effective Organization of Google Drive and Google Classroom. And to help us out here today, we have Joe Quadrino. I'm gonna pop it over to him.
Hi everyone, I'm Joe Quadrino. I was a social studies teacher in North Carolina and in New York for about 7 years, I guess. Now I'm a curriculum specialist here and helping make some content for all you guys to enjoy.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So again, if you're joining us for the first time, we are doing Effective Organization of Google Drive and Google Classroom here. So we're going to go over our agenda first. First, we're going to start up by doing an overview of Google Drive. And what we're going to focus on here today are folders, granting and rescinding access, deleting files, Google Classroom. We're going to go into archiving old classes and unenrolling students. From there, we'll talk about how to manage your class calendars. And then finally, we'll end with organizing your classwork tab with topics. All right, so first up, focusing on Google Drive here. So we're going to focus on these three main things here today: folders, managing access, and deleting files. Specifically within folders, we're going to go over naming conventions, how to make folders and subfolders, and color code your files. So these are some basic things that you might want to start off with when you are looking to organize your Google Drive, or that you might have questions about. So let's dive right into folders. Now, you want to make sure that you are naming your folders with a naming convention that really works for you. So consider how you want to go about it. Do you want to go about sharing it as different subject folders of the subjects that maybe you teach? Or if you have different class sections, do you want to have folders named for that? That's just something that you want to keep in mind how you are organizing your folders. You also want to be aware of how to create folders within folders. So this can help to streamline all of the documents that you have in your Google Drive. I find that if I have loose things in my Google Drive, it's really messy for me. And so I just like to be able to know where I need to go. And instead of having to search my Google Drive for a specific document that I'm looking for, I can go ahead, and if I know exactly the name of the folder where I've put it, it's much easier for me to find what I need. And something else that I find very helpful is adding colors to my folders or images. We're going to show you how to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and exit from my presentation here, and we're going to head over to my Google Drive. Now, you'll see here I do have some folders already set up, and then below that I have a bunch of loose documents. This can be very cluttering if you have a lot of loose documents at the bottom. It can be difficult to know exactly where to look or to find something. Did I put it in my folder, or is it just at the bottom there? So if I want to create a new folder, let's say this is for all of my science work, I'm going to do so by up here in the left-hand corner. You'll see I'm hovering with my mouse over a plus sign and it says new. So if I click on that, that is where I would go to create a new folder, just to move my documents around and keep them more organized. So if I click on folder, the first thing I'm presented with is to title my folder. So I'm going to do this science work. And then when I'm ready, I'll click create. So you'll see the folders do appear in alphabetical order. It's going to appear right here as soon as I make it. If I click in it, it shows that I have nothing in there. So we'll just go back. All right. So there's a couple different options for moving documents into folders once you've created them. What I find easy, especially if there are things that I have just thrown at the bottom of my drive, scattered in there, I can click on it and then use my mouse to drag it into that folder, science work. And you'll notice that the document that I was just holding on is no longer here at the bottom of my drive. If I go into science work, I find that document there. So that's one option that you can do, is you can go ahead and just drag whatever you need to in there, and they'll just all appear like that. Or I can click on my document and then right click it, and you'll see we have a variety of menu options available to us. I would select move to, and then I could organize wherever I need to in there, and I could click on student work, and then I want to move it here, and I can move it that way. So that's a great option for if you are already in a document and you want to move it. Sometimes if I have a lot of documents, it can be difficult to drag it all the way from the bottom into the folder that I want it to be in, but that's just something to note as well. So if I go into my folder, I'm in my science work folder. And let's say I want to create a subfolder for experiments. I would follow the same procedure as I did before. You'll see I have that new button up at the top left. If I click on new folder, experiments, I'll click create as I did before. And now I have a folder within the folder that I've already created. So I can go ahead and drag my pencil experiment into that folder. It cleans up my original folder so that, again, it's not very distracted. Maybe I want another folder for take-home assignments. I'll click create, and then these other two assignments are take-home. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag both of them into take-home assignments. Whoops. We'll drag them both in there, and you'll see when I'm now in this folder, it makes it so much easier for me to look and to figure out exactly where things need instead of having them all loose within a folder. I find that very helpful, and you can name it whatever, again, as I mentioned, whatever you'd like as well. Now, if I wanted to color code my folder, I would go ahead and right click on it, and I have this option to change color. This can make it very easy for me to look and see and differentiate between the different folders. I'll show you how to do that again. We'll go down to change color, and then I can choose whatever color I like. If I go over here to my drive, I find that it's more helpful in the bigger drive than necessarily folders within a folder. So if I have classwork, I want it to be green here, and then master folder, maybe I want that to be red because it's really important. That's something that I can do there as well. So something that you want to keep in mind is folders for yourself and folders that you're going to share out. We're going to discuss that a little bit more, but if I go up to the top here, I'm on this website called Emojipedia. And so Emojipedia is a great website where I can find a variety of different emojis that I can use to further enhance those folders that I just created. So let's say I want to search exclamation point. And this double exclamation point, all I have to do is I can click copy once I pick an emoji that I like. If I go back to my drive here, I'm going to go back to that master folder. Now I can click on the name of the folder itself to rename it. I like it being master folder, but I'm going to go ahead and paste that emoji. Now, depending on what you have, it might just show up as regular text. But you also might find that it shows up as an emoji image. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind as a way to differentiate for what it's exactly looking at. We'll do a smiley. Or sun with a face. Copy that over. Maybe classwork is something that I find really bright and I want to rename it. I can post that sun there. And so there you'll see. Sometimes if it's regular text, it'll just appear as regular text, or it'll appear as the image. And when I click OK, now I have a sun next to classwork. Okay, so let's head back over to our presentation. We went over how to create folders within folders, add different colors and images, and some important naming conventions. Now we're going to talk about how to grant and rescind access to folders within your Drive or documents. So that's something to keep in mind, is that I can either share a folder or I can share that document. Now, when I'm sharing with people, you might want to keep in mind files that are personal versus files that are shared with others. That's where creating folders and subfolders can come in handy. Sometimes you might find it easy to have a separate folder for your personal files that you're not going to share out, even within a class. Maybe I have my 6th grade science class folder, and I might have parts of that folder shared with a co-teacher, but I might keep a separate folder within that folder that's only shared, that only I can have access to. So that's just something to keep in mind, how you want to do permissions, but I'll show you how to grant and rescind access to individuals. So we're going to go back over to our Google Drive here, and I'm going to head into my classwork folder. So I'll show you how to do it from within just your Google Drive and from within an assignment as well. So if I click on this demo assignment here, if I right click on that, I can click on share here. I also have the option to get a shareable link. You can still get a shareable link once you click on share. But if I click on share here, it will show me whoever I've already shared it with. If they're within my organization or I have them saved as a contact, I can just go ahead and start typing their name. So I'm going to add Joe here, share it with him. His name already pops up. And I have the option, if I select to share it with specific individuals, I can give them a message and it will automatically send them an email notifying them. If I choose the notify people option, it will send him an automatic email letting him know that this document or this folder has been shared with him. Now, something that you want to keep in mind here is right next to the person's name, there's the option to change them and their status. This kind of grants them the different permissions. Do you want them to be able to edit the documents? Do you want them to only be able to comment on the documents? Or do you just want to grant them viewing access only? So I'm going to, because Joe's my co-teacher, I'll keep him as editor. But if I was sharing this whole folder with students, I might just do viewer because it might be something that I don't want them to edit for me. Now, if I click on this little wheel icon, there are some different settings options that I have for sharing with people. I can grant or rescind different access from Joe depending on what I'd like for him to have access to. So right now it's already preset to editors can change permissions and share. And then if I had a viewer that they could comment and see the option to download, print, and copy. So maybe I don't want them to be able to print or copy something. I can uncheck that if that's something that I wanted. When I'm ready to go, I'll just click send. And it shows me a little notification at the bottom here that somebody has been added. It's the same procedure. If I want to share a folder, I'm going to still right click on it and I'm going to go to share. And same options are presented to me. So you'll see that I just shared the one document with Joe. He's not shared on the entire folder. If I wanted to share him on the entire folder, I could add him there. I could also copy a link. Now, right now it says with the link option, it's restricted so that only people who have been added can open with this link. I can change it to anyone at my school can view the link, or I have another option. I can do anyone with the link. So if I was posting this public, maybe for students or parents on a website, I might want to do anyone with the link so that if students want to share something with parents or grandparents. Again, I also have the option to restrict it or to just put it in tech school. I do recommend that anyone with the link, as I mentioned, for sharing on a class website or for sharing in Google Classroom. That can help if you have parents who don't have a school email to be able to access something. So if you want to post something for parents to share, that's something that you're going to want to keep in mind. Then I have those same options, just viewer or editor. I don't have a commenter option when I share with a link. If I wanted to choose editor, I could go back and forth, whatever I want. And when I'm done with those settings, I can click done. I can also copy that link right from within there. You'll see it already notify me that it was copied. I'll click done. And then if I wanted to, I could go ahead and I can post that link wherever I need to. If I want to email it out, maybe I don't want it to create that automatic notification. The link option is also great if I want to share an entire folder of resources with students in Google Classroom. I could go over to my Google Classroom, take that link, and share it with my class. I can just hit that paste option. And that link is already shared there. Post it, and then students have access to whatever it was that I shared with them. So that can be a great way, the link option, if I'm sharing it with multiple people rather than typing their individual names, that's a good option for me to have. All right, so we're gonna go back over to our classwork. And the last thing I'm gonna show you how to do with granting access is how to share from within a specific document. So I showed you how to share within Google Drive. Now that I'm in an assignment here, I would just go to File, Share, and all those options are there as well. So now that we've discussed how to share a file or a folder with someone, how to do it from within Google Drive or from within that specific document, what if I didn't want someone to have access anymore? So right now I see Joe is here, he has access. What if I didn't want Joe to have access anymore? So I could click on this little wheel icon and it tells me exactly what status that he has. I can restrict his access to viewership only, or if I want to restrict his access to commentator. I also have the option to make him the owner of the document. So let's say I was the leader of the art club and I'm no longer going to be the leader of the art club anymore. I can send off that folder and give him full ownership. Maybe Joe's going to be the leader of the art club, but let's say Joe's no longer my co-teacher for 6th grade science or 5th grade science, and I want to remove him so that I can add another co-teacher so I know he's not going in and editing things. I would just click remove, and you'll see that Joe's name is no longer listed. I still have to hit save though because it says pending changes. If I don't hit save, it's not going to officially remove him. When I click save, then it gives me that notification that somebody was indeed removed. So those are just some important things that you want to keep in mind when you are sharing with others. All right, so now we've gone over folder organization, granting and rescinding access, and last thing with Google Drive we'll talk about is deleting files. So you might delete files for a variety of reasons. Maybe you don't use that specific document anymore, you've transitioned to something else, or you didn't like the document that you originally created, you've made something else. We have the options to delete the file forever, to restore a file, and then something to note is if I do delete a file, others who already have access can make a copy of that file before I permanently delete it. So when I go and delete something, it just goes into my trash. That doesn't automatically delete it. I have to go into the trash and delete it forever or restore it. If something's in my trash, someone who I've already shared it with can still make a copy of that file. So that's something to keep in mind. The better thing to do would be to rescind access to someone if you didn't want them to have access to that file right away. If you're not going to be someone who's on top of clearing out and permanently deleting everything in your trash automatically. Things in the trash do get deleted after 30 days, but if you want to get it taken care of right away, I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So let's head over to our drive. And let's say I don't want to keep this demo assignment anymore. I'm going to right click on it and I would just click remove. And you'll see it's no longer there. And it gives me that notification that that file is still accessible by collaborators. So until I go into my trash and permanently delete it, anyone who I've already shared it with can still access. So if I go into trash, which is right on the left-hand side here, it's a little trash icon. It'll show me anything in here that I've put in my deleted items. So if I click on trash up at the top here, I have the option to empty the whole entire thing. So if I want to delete everything in there, I can do that. Or I can right click on a specific item. And this is where I have that option to delete it forever or to restore it. Now, I personally like having the ability to go back in my trash and to restore it. You might not like that option. You might just want to delete it, but it is there for you. And it's only available as an individual file or folder option. If I go up to trash here, I don't have the option to restore everything in my trash. It is by an individual assignment example. So if I click restore, that would put it exactly back where it was, and we'll show that in a moment. If I want to permanently delete something, I'm just going to hit delete forever. And you would get that notification that something is about to be permanently deleted and that you can't undo that action. So maybe I don't want to delete that. I'm not quite sure if I want to get rid of it yet, but this one I am sure. So I'll click delete forever, get that warning. If I'm sure, I click delete forever, and we are all good to go. It is no longer there. If I go back to my drive and I go into that classwork folder, we'll see that the file that I restored is still there. Okay. So now we've gone over everything that we want to cover with organizing our drive. I recommend doing that before the start of the school year, especially if at the end of the school year, we might not necessarily be in the mindset to go ahead and organize things. That's a great time to do it as well. But you want to just make sure you have it done before the beginning of the school year because it can get very cluttered from things from past school years. Now we're going to dive into Google Classroom here. So there's 4 main things that we're going to talk about: how to archive old classes. This still does allow us to access past courses and content. It doesn't delete it forever. We're going to talk about how to unenroll a student. So this is great for a discharged student, somebody who left in the middle of the year, or at the end of the year, a graduating student. You could unenroll them as well. Unless students delete the class on their end, they will still be enrolled in this class. So if you have other students, you don't want them to have access to the old class, we'll go over that option. How to manage your calendar. So how can we hide or remove things to clean up view? And then lastly, how to create topics. Okay, so we're gonna head over into our Google Classroom here. And so actually, before we do that, we'll focus in on that archiving and unenrolling students process. So for archiving old classes, I like to do this because it makes it easier to navigate my page. If I do archive something, I still have the option to reuse assignments in post, even though something is archived. And I have the option as well to archive a class. So we're going to go ahead over to our Google Classroom here. And I'm going to show you all of my classes. So let's say I don't have my old 4th grade class anymore and I want to archive it. All I would do is I would hit this 3-dot menu right next to the title of it, and I would click archive. You get a little bit of a warning here. It says archives classes. You're not able to update them unless they are restored. I'm going to hit OK. I am OK that I want to archive it. And to show you where my archive classes go, right up at the top where it showed me all classes. I'll show you where to access that again. It's a hamburger menu. If I scroll down to the bottom, there's an option for archive classes. If I click on that, it would show me any class that I have archived. If I want to restore that class, I have a 3-dot menu up at the top here. I would just click restore. And that would put it right back into my classes. So that's very quick and easy. All right, so now that we've seen how to archive old classes, let's go over very quickly on how to unenroll students. The main reason I like to know about this feature of unenrolling students is to prevent breaches of academic integrity. So if you archive that old class, if you don't unenroll students, they will still have access to old assignments. So if you have kids, maybe you have siblings and you don't want to have let the older siblings still have access and give them the ability to show students the assignments that are upcoming, it's a good idea to unenroll them. So we're going to go over back into my 5th grade class here. I'm going to go to people. And you'll see I have all of these students here. Maybe I don't want Sarah to be in my class anymore. So next to her name, there's a 3-dot menu. There's the option to email her. Actually, we'll click on Sarah. And up at the top is where we can remove her. So it's, again, sorry about that. It's not in the 3-dot menu. It's all the way at the top. And I do need to click on that person's name by putting a check mark next to them. If I don't want them, I'll just click remove. It gives you a warning again. Are you sure you want to remove them? I do. I'll click remove. And so if we were to go into Sarah's Google Classroom, she would not see that anymore. You'll also see that she's not listed as one of my students anymore. So again, that's just something that's a good thing to know about for if you have successions of siblings, or especially when students have friends in older or younger grades. You don't want them sharing assignments that you have. You can still keep that class archived and you'll still have access to those students' old work, but they just won't be able to access anything in that classroom. All right, so next, how to manage class calendars. We can either go to calendar.google.com or I'll show you how to access it from within Google Classroom. Once we're in our calendar, in the 3-dot menu is where we can go ahead and decide how we want to be able to see things. And there's a variety of options available. So you might be asking yourself, why would I need to manage my calendars within Google Classroom? And if you're a teacher who has things from other years past, maybe a teacher group that you were in or a club that you were a part of didn't remove you, you would still be able to see all of that amongst all of your new things. So it can get very cluttered. I'm in my classwork tab right here, which is where I'll show you how to access your Google Calendar for your class. I'll click on class calendar here. And you'll see if I scroll down here, let's go take a look at September. I have two different team meetings, both happening at 3 o'clock. If I click on the one, I'll see, oh, one's the 3rd grade team. I'm not in the 3rd grade team anymore. So how can I hide that? I see the 5th grade team, which I am in. So if I scroll down over here on the side, you'll see all of the different calendars that I have. If I just want to hide the calendar, if I just want to not show it for right now, I can go ahead and I can uncheck that. Or I can recheck it. I have other calendars, which are calendars that have been shared with me. If I uncheck 3rd grade team, it'll hide it from me. But let's explore this 3-dot menu right next to the calendar to go over some other options. So I can hide it from my list here. I can set it so that only that calendar will display on my calendar. I can even change the color for myself and how I want something to appear. But if I go into settings and I keep scrolling down, that's where I have the option to unsubscribe and remove that calendar. So if I unsubscribe, I get that notification. Are you sure you want to remove the 3rd grade team? If I remove that calendar, I'll go back over to settings here and you'll see it no longer appears there and it no longer appears on this side. So that's a great option to know about to help you manage your different views. All right, now the last thing we're going to go over is how to organize our classwork tab with topics. So if we are creating topics, we're going to do so under the classwork tab. You can organize assignments using the 3-dot menu or by dragging and dropping. I'll show you both of those. And then as I showed you before, you can customize with emojis or color code the same way using that Emojipedia. All right. So let's head back over into our Google Classroom here. We're already in our classwork tab. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and show you what a topic looks like. So ELA is something that I've already created as a topic. If I want to create a new topic, I'm going to hit that create button at the top and choose topic. So maybe I want to have science as a topic. And let's pick something science-y. No light bulb. We'll do an earth here instead. So same thing as I did before. I hit copy. If I go back and I hit paste, that little earth icon will appear. I find using the emojis in Google Classroom is more helpful than doing so, you know, with my folders, because this is what students will see. I'm going to click add when I'm ready to go, and it appears right at the bottom for me. Now I have a couple different options. I can drag something. If I click on the folder and I drag it and I put it over here under science, it will now appear under science. If I didn't want to do that, I would click the 3-dot menu next to an assignment, hit edit, and then right now this is something that doesn't have a topic assigned to it. If I click where it says topic, I'll click on science and go and save it. And now that's something that will also appear under science. So you can change your topics in a variety of different ways. I have it organized by subject. You might find it helpful to have it organized and titled week 1 with the dates, or by the month, whatever is going to be easiest for you and your students. But it's very helpful to get started with the year using topics. It makes things more organized for your students. They can easily see when new assignments are added for either a particular week or a particular subject. Just makes it things much easier for your students to engage with their work in Google Classroom. So I do recommend getting those topics set up and deciding on how you want to organize them before the school year starts. All right, so we went over folders, we went over how to give access to different people, and then finally in Google Classroom we talked about archiving classes, unenrolling students, creating topics, a variety of different things here. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen with you, and I hope you enjoyed learning about how to organize your Google Drive and your Google Classroom effectively. Do we have any questions in the chat box that we want to address now?
Hey, Nikki, my camera's back on. We had a bunch of questions in the chat box. A few of them that I think are worth sharing. One had to do with archiving classes and what students have access to after they are archived.
Okay, so that's a really great question. When you archive a class, students still have access to all the materials from that past class. The only way to get around them not having access is to unenroll those students. So you can go ahead and unenroll all of your students if you want to, and then archive the class so you still have access to all those materials in post. But if students aren't unenrolled, they will still have access to everything, even if it's archived.
And Nikki, would that include documents they created in their drive for the class?
Yes.
So if they created their own document in their Google Drive and submit it to Classroom, they would no longer have access to their original document?
That I actually am unsure of the answer to that, but I can definitely check into that and get back to you if you want to take down the name of the participant. But I believe that they will still have access to something that they personally created in their drive.
Right. Yeah, if they create their own document, it's going to live in their drive. But if the document was created by the teacher in Classroom, they would no longer have access if they're unenrolled.
Correct.
Let's see.
We did just receive another question from Carol. Is there a way to prevent individual student work from showing up on my drive? I am flooded with all individual docs.
So individual student work is unfortunately always going to live in your drive. But it will live in that classroom folder. So this is why I like, sometimes I'll create 2 copies of assignments. I'll create a copy of assignment that's titled student copy, and then give my template a unique name. That way I'm not flooded with, so many different options. That's one thing you could do, but something, again, that will help kind of avoid that situation is if you create unique names and folders for all of your documents. If you organize them into folders, it's easier to navigate and find something rather than you searching biodiversity survey walk up at the top of your drive and you get your original plus all the student copies. So if you know where things live, it kind of avoids that.
And because the documents are going to go into your stream, it's probably best practice to, have the things you need in folders that you can easily select on and search, as opposed to looking through your most recents to find the documents you commonly work on. Because if you're using Classroom, the most recents are going to be student assignments. So it's probably best practice to get out of the habit of just looking at what you did last and instead have those folders that you can have at the top above all the recents and search in the search box as well. Nikki, let's see if another one we had before here. If you delete something from your drive that someone else shared with you, does that affect other people's access to it?
That's a great question. So if you're talking about deleting a document that someone has shared with you, if you delete that document, it does not delete it for the others. It just deletes it from your drive. That's a great question.
Okay. Actually, a few just came in. I'm just actually going to just read them. So as Teresa said, I'm pretty sure they have access if we used make a copy when we did it. This is a very big issue. They can share answers and work with future students so easily. Oh, I think she's talking about past students after a class is archived. So she's worried about students giving answers to future students. Do you have an idea to work around that?
So unfortunately, because if students are given the option to create a copy, if it makes a copy for each student, rather, they will have access to the directions if you make a copy of the directions for each student. So they would have access to all of that. An option that you might want to consider is the view only option and then having students submit their own document to you. But that's unfortunately a way to get, you can't get around that. The unenroll option is great for just having all that access. I think, sometimes students might not think to search within their drive for that specific assignment, but having all that access, maybe all the resources, tests, and quizzes wouldn't show up.
Okay. Another thing about unenrolling, and if you have students create like portfolios and assignments, if they unenroll them when they graduate, will they lose all that work? I mean, the answer would be yes if they're unenrolled, correct?
Can you repeat that question, Joe?
If
I'm
you
not sure.
unenroll a student, this teacher has them create portfolios, right? If you unenroll the students, would they lose those portfolios, the work they've done?
It depends on where that portfolio is stored. If the portfolio is stored in their own personal drive, then they won't lose access to that. If it's through some other means, they might lose access, but wherever students are creating in their drive, they won't lose access to that. Unless it's a situation where they're using a school email and the school deletes emails from graduating students, then they would no longer have access to that.
Mm. And real quickly, can you unenroll all students from a class at the same time?
You can. So you would just check all students instead of the individual like I did before, and you just choose that action.
Okay. Just checking the chat box over here. Looks like we had one person use the chat box for a question. After archiving, where do the students go to get their folder? I have students who ended the year incomplete. So I guess my question is, are the students' folder still in the drive with their name after archived?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see any more questions in our Q&A box here. I did a quick view of the chat box. I don't know if I see anything else.
Nicole,
Nina?
if the audience has any more questions that we haven't addressed during the session, where can they send their questions to?
So they can reach out to otis@tech.com is our email address if they want to reach out that way. If they have a subscription to Otis, they can use the Ask Otis feature as well.
And we did just have one more question pop in the Q&A here about those portfolios. Can students copy their portfolios into a personal drive to prevent losing it?
They could do that, yes. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone, we're going to wrap up for now. You will be receiving in the next 48 hours an email which will provide proof of your attendance to the session. It will also include a link to this video so you can rewatch it, and a link to the presentation that Nicole used today. And like Nicole mentioned, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. The team will happily answer any of those, because I know there's so much. We're just scratching the surface with this. All right. Well, Nicole and Joseph, thank you both so much for this great presentation and for answering all these questions. With that, everyone have a great day. I hope you join us. We have the next topic up today is supporting teachers during distance learning with PD. Joseph Sanfilippo, our Director of E-Learning, and Chrissy Riebert, our VP of Global Instructional Solutions, is going to be joined by Brian Moore, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction from East Penborough. So join us for that session. We start at 12 o'clock. Hope to see you there. Bye, everyone.
Bye.